In 2005, Jake Plummer delivered one of the cleanest stretches of quarterback play the NFL had ever seen. For a moment, the reckless Jake the Snake was gone, replaced by a Pro Bowl leader who had Denver dreaming of another Super Bowl. But just a year later, that same quarterback was benched for a rookie. How does a career rise so high and collapse so fast? From Idaho roots to Arizona chaos, from a 13-3 run in Denver to a shocking early retirement, this is the unpredictable story of Jake Plummer. Jake Plummer's story didn't begin under stadium lights. It began in Smiley Creek, Idaho, a mountain town with fewer than 50 residents. Winters were harsh, and entertainment meant competition. Basketball in the driveway, football in open fields. That isolation built a toughness you couldn't fake. Coaches later said Plummer had an edge you didn't get in gyms. He had learned how to compete long before anyone was watching. By high school, he starred in football, basketball, and baseball. The kid who always found a way to win. But when recruiters came calling, he didn't choose the powerhouse programs. No USC, no Michigan. He chose Arizona State, a school with potential but little national pedigree. For Plummer, that wasn't a drawback. It was the challenge he wanted. At ASU, his style jumped off the screen. Plummer wasn't the tallest or strongest quarterback, but broken plays became highlights. A collapsing pocket wasn't panic, it was opportunity. He scrambled, improvised, and kept hope alive, earning the nickname Jake the Snake. Borrowed from pro wrestling, it was the perfect fit for the way he slipped through defenses. Analysts called him reckless, but teammates saw the spark, confidence that made an average roster believe. The defining season came in 1996. Plummer threw for 2,575 yards and 23 touchdowns, leading ASU to an undefeated regular season and a Pac-10 title. The Sun Devils weren't supposed to be there, but with Plummer at the helm, they stormed into the Rose Bowl ranked number 2 in the nation. That year also forged his most important bond with linebacker Pat Tillman. Tillman was relentless, and he and Plummer connected immediately. Both were driven by more than stats. Both refused to bend under pressure. In that locker room, Plummer wasn't just the quarterback. He was the heartbeat, the spark that Tillman and the rest rallied behind. The Rose Bowl itself became legend. With the game tied late, Plummer scrambled through Ohio State's defense and dove into the end zone for a go-ahead touchdown. The stadium erupted. It felt like destiny, that the underdog from Idaho had delivered the perfect ending. But fate had other plans. Ohio State answered with a final crushing drive to win 20-17. Even in defeat, Plummer's performance left a mark. He hadn't just elevated a program. He proved his style could thrive on the biggest stage. By the time the 1997 NFL Draft rolled around, there was no doubt he'd play on Sundays. From a college hero in Tempe to the Cardinals' great hope, now all eyes in Arizona were on Jake. But nothing about Sundays in the desert would come easy. In 1997, Arizona was a franchise starved for relevance, and Jake was the lifeline they had been waiting for. He was instantly positioned as the face of the future. He wasted no time creating drama. Late in his rookie year, against Philadelphia, he orchestrated a 98-yard game-winning drive. It was pure Plummer, improvisation, grit, and the uncanny ability to flip a game in an instant. For Cardinals fans, who had grown used to hopeless Sundays, it felt like a new era had begun. That promise exploded in 1998. Plummer guided Arizona to its first playoff berth in 16 years, then delivered the unthinkable, beating the Dallas Cowboys in the postseason. It was the franchise's first playoff victory since 1947. For a brief moment, Arizona wasn't just surviving. They were part of NFL history again, and it was Jake the Snake dragging them there. But the very instincts that made him electric also made him dangerous. In 1999, the magic unraveled. He threw 24 interceptions to just 9 touchdowns, and analysts hammered him as one of the league's worst starters. To some, it looked like the gambler's luck had finally run out. That volatility became his Arizona identity. One Sunday, he was fearless, carving defenses and rallying his team from the dead. The next, he was forcing balls into impossible windows, burying drives under turnovers. For fans, it was adrenaline and heartbreak rolled into one. The truth was more complicated. Arizona never surrounded him with stability, rotating coaches, shaky offensive lines, and a defense that rarely gave him margin for error. At times, Plummer carried the team on sheer willpower. His 2001 season showed exactly that. 3,653 passing yards, then a franchise record, and the NFL lead in fourth quarter passing yards. No matter the deficit, he was at his most dangerous when the game seemed lost. But the burden was heavy. When he pulled off comebacks, he was the hero. When he fell short, he was reckless again. Without a foundation around him, the Cardinals leaned on his volatility as both their fuel and their flaw. After years of ups and downs, Jake's run in Arizona crashed to a stop, but a fresh start was waiting, a shot at redemption under Denver's bright lights. When Jake Plummer left Arizona for Denver in 2003, it wasn't just a change of scenery, it was a reset button. For the first time in his career, he stepped into a culture built on winning. And for Mike Shanahan, the move wasn't about salvaging a broken quarterback. He saw a playmaker whose fire just needed direction. Denver's offense was perfect for Plummer's strengths. The Broncos' famous zone-running scheme forced defenses into single high safety looks. From there, Shanahan's play action and bootlegs moved Plummer outside the pocket, cutting the field in half and simplifying his reads. Instead of standing in collapsing pockets and forcing tight window throws, he was reading one defender and letting his athleticism dictate the play. It was structure without a leash, just enough guardrails to keep his chaos under control. Right away, the difference showed. In 2003, Plummer posted a career-high 91.2 passer rating, guiding Denver back to the playoffs. But old habits lingered. 15 interceptions reminded everyone that the gambler still lived inside him. By 2004, the questions sharpened. He tied for the league lead with 20 interceptions, too often trying to force his way out of trouble. Denver won 10 games, but fans wondered if the snake would ever shed his skin. Then came 2005, the season that changed everything. Plummer didn't abandon his instincts. He refined them. He chose his moments. He threw just 7 interceptions all year, compared to 20 the season before. At one point, he delivered 229 consecutive passes without a pick, setting a franchise record and silencing the reckless label that had followed him for nearly a decade. The Broncos finished 13-3, with Plummer earning his first and only Pro Bowl nod. But the numbers only told part of the story. Denver's offense hummed because Plummer had learned to weaponize patience. Shanahan rolled him out, froze linebackers with play action, and gave him matchups he could trust. Instead of chasing hero plays, he leaned on timing, footwork, and discipline, trusting the system more than he ever had. That trust filtered into the huddle. In Arizona, turnovers often led to frustration. Teammates braced for the next mistake. But in 2005, they rallied behind him. His composure rubbed off, and Denver looked like a balanced machine, a top defense, a bruising run game, and a quarterback finally playing within himself. The proof came in January. In the divisional round, Denver stunned New England, ending Tom Brady's 10-0 playoff streak. For Broncos fans, it felt like validation. The gamble on Plummer had paid off. He wasn't John Elway. But for the first time since Elway, Denver had a quarterback who looked capable of finishing the job. Denver was rolling. Plummer finally looked like the answer. But when the playoffs hit full speed, everything that built his legend would face its harshest test yet. The 2005 AFC Championship wasn't just another playoff game. For Denver, it was the chance to reclaim its place among the NFL elite. Mile High was buzzing with belief. For Jake Plummer, it was the moment of truth. All year, he had silenced critics with efficiency and discipline. The improviser had become a leader. But championships demand more than clean stats. They demand precision under fire. From the opening series, Pittsburgh made sure that fire was scorching. Defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau designed blitzes that collapsed the edges and killed Denver's bootleg game. The very plays that had defined Plummer's transformation vanished. Forced into static pockets, he faced tight throws against disguised coverages, and the ghosts of Arizona resurfaced. The breakdown was brutal. A fumble here, a tipped interception there. By the end of the afternoon, Plummer had committed 4 turnovers, and Denver's Super Bowl hopes were dead in a 34-17 loss. It wasn't just the defeat, it was the way it happened. The very strengths that carried him all season, mobility, composure, and patience, crumbled on the biggest stage. In one afternoon, the efficient Pro Bowl quarterback looked like the reckless gambler who had haunted Arizona. For fans, the swing was jarring. Just a week earlier, Plummer had been the man who outdueled Brady, the quarterback who had finally shed his reputation. Now, he was back in the old narrative, the chaos engine whose mistakes erased everything. Inside the organization, the loss carried even more weight. Shanahan's system depended on protecting possessions, and for a full year, Plummer had bought into it. But against Pittsburgh, it looked fragile. Could Denver really build a championship future on a quarterback who reverted when the stakes were highest? The whispers grew louder. Shanahan had already studied college quarterbacks before the 2005 season, and this game confirmed the doubt. To some decision-makers, the AFC Championship wasn't a bump in the road, it was a ceiling. For Jake Plummer, it was devastating. He had reinvented himself, given Denver one of its best seasons since John Elway, and come within a game of the Super Bowl. But one bad afternoon overshadowed it all. The AFC Championship was supposed to be the launch point. Instead, it became the beginning of the end. In 2006, the Broncos were 7-4 and in playoff position when Mike Shanahan made his move. Despite 3 straight winning seasons and a Pro Bowl the year before, Shanahan benched Jake Plummer for rookie Jay Cutler. The decision stunned the league. Plummer wasn't playing at his 2005 level, but he wasn't imploding either. He was steady, competitive, and still winning. For Shanahan, that wasn't enough. The AFC title loss to Pittsburgh had hardened his doubts. He wanted a quarterback who could run his offense with machine-like precision, and to him, Plummer's volatility meant the future needed to start now. Cutler had the arm talent, but his debut didn't silence critics. The rookie flashed promise but made rookie mistakes, and Denver stumbled down the stretch. The Broncos missed the playoffs, and the gamble looked premature. For Plummer, the frustration was obvious, even if he never blasted the decision publicly. A year earlier, he had delivered Denver's best season since John Elway. Now he was watching from the sideline, his run over not because of decline, but because of a coach's choice. By March 2007, Denver traded Plummer's rights to Tampa Bay. Many expected him to compete for a starting job, or at least play out a few more years as a veteran backup. Instead, Plummer shocked everyone. He retired on the spot, 32 years old, still healthy, still capable, and simply done. There was no farewell tour, no clinging to relevance. He chose to walk away before the league pushed him out. For a quarterback defined by chaos, it was the calmest, clearest decision of his career. The business dragged on. The Buccaneers pursued repayment of bonus money, and Plummer eventually settled. But the football part was finished. He never suited up again. His exit felt unfinished to outsiders. Quarterbacks don't usually go from Pro Bowl to bench to retired in 15 months. But to Plummer, it was complete. He had lived the highs, Rose Bowl heroics, Arizona's first playoff win in half a century, Denver's 13-3 run, and he had endured the lows. He had remade himself, proved he could play disciplined football, and walked away before the game could take more than it gave back. For Jake Plummer, retirement wasn't defeat, it was independence, the final act of a career defined on his own terms. Jake Plummer never fit the mold, and maybe that's why his story still matters. He wasn't John Elway's heir or a Super Bowl champion. He was something different, a reminder that greatness can be messy, volatile, and unforgettable. Ask Cardinals fans about 1998. Ask Broncos fans about 2005. For a stretch, Jake the Snake made you believe anything was possible. And that's why the debate never dies. Was Shanahan right to hand the team to Jay Cutler? Or did Denver throw away the best thing they'd had since Elway? What's certain is this: Jake Plummer's legacy lives in the what-ifs, the quarterback who could change a game and who walked away before the game could change him. So what do you think? Was Denver right? Or did they waste their last shot with Plummer at the helm? Drop your take in the comments and subscribe for more rise and fall stories of the game's most fascinating players.